Well, alrighty, gang, welcome back to the Active Self Protection Podcast. I'm yet again your host, Mike Williver, and with any luck at all, I remain your favorite.
Pepper spray is next generation OC spray. It's hot at 1.4% major capsaicinoids, and its modular design means you can customize it exactly to you. 3 different setups, lots of different color combinations. You can make it exactly as you like. And the flip top safety prevents accidental discharges. It's 10 to 12 foot range and 25 half-second blasts. Make sure that you can keep that long range eye poke at long range. I trust Palm OC and I recommend it for everyone for self-defense.
Former Fed with us today, a new friend of mine. His name is Scott. Scott lives in Oneida, Tennessee, which we'll discuss his location and the weather there here in a moment, I think. He owns a coffee company, which is cool, and he is married with 3 kids. Scott, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
So you're welcome. Thanks for writing in, and thanks for being on the show. I sometimes I forget to say that in the opening, but if it weren't for folks like you, there wouldn't be a podcast. So I appreciate it. So we were discussing just before we hit the record button the fact that there was some weather in your area last night. So as we're recording this, it is Thursday, May 9th. So I think you have more weather inbound today, but you and I, as it turns out, we're both watching the same YouTuber last night, keeping track of this stuff, named Ryan Hall. Are you a longtime viewer of his, or is that something you came upon recently?
Mostly maybe last year we started watching him. We're relatively new to Tennessee and tornadoes and severe weather. So we wanted to have a really good source of truth. And we kind of found about his channel, and my wife's been sharing it on Facebook and telling everybody about it. So now we've got a lot of folks here that they're all part of the Y'all Squad.
Yeah, so Ryan Hall, y'all, is the name of it sounds corny, but it's really, really good stuff. Talking about being prepared and your attitude, skills, and plan. If you live somewhere where there is natural disasters, knowing how they work and how to respond to them and being prepared for them is 100% part of covering your ASP. I have to enunciate that. ASP. So, for example, if you live in an earthquake-prone area, you should know where your gas shutoff is. You should know. You should have bottled water and food that'll last a while available in case you're cut off. In case there's it's not just guns and ammo and pepper spray. There's other things to be considered. So, watching Ryan Hall's channel, if you live in a tornado-prone area, especially so anywhere in Tornado Alley or Dixie Alley, I can't recommend it enough. Go subscribe to his channel and set up notifications so when he goes live, you're notified. Because if he's going live, there's a reason, which is there's almost certainly really bad weather incoming somewhere in that general vicinity. So that's cool. It's fun that Scott and I have never met, and we're both watching the exact same thing last night on YouTube. Anyway, moving on. So Scott, your story is cool and different, but let's start with your sort of personal history. Are you the kind of guy that's been self-defense aware and sort of self-defense minded for a long time, or is this a recent development for you?
It's definitely been a lifelong thing. I was about 8 years old when I joined the Killingly Rifle Club in Connecticut, small bore rifle club. Moved my way up through junior high school. I was on the Vermont Service Rifle team. We shot the M18 1,000 yards open. So firearms were always in my DNA. Obviously, as I've become older, lived around the country, seen a lot of different things, especially now with a family as well. We take self-protection very, very seriously. We've been longtime followers of the show and of the podcast as well. So I'm just really happy to be here today.
Nice. I love to hear that. So your particular story, I feel like doesn't really involve a super hypercritical incident, right? This is something.
Correct.
Yeah. So just kind of, I don't want to make a big to-do out of the intro. Just kind of walk us through why you wrote in and the situation. I think it's fascinating. I think our viewers and listeners will think it's interesting as well.
Yeah, sure. So, we have this issue with school shootings in this country, and whatever the cause of that may or may not be, it's a problem. And I was actually in Nashville attending a conference when the school shooting at the Christian school in Nashville occurred. And I had about a 2.5 hour drive home after the conference, and it was really weighing heavily on my mind. That I wish I could get involved. I wish it was something that I could personally do to help in some way. And as you mentioned earlier, I own a coffee company, and so as an entrepreneur, I have quite a bit of flexibility in my schedule.
Right.
So a light bulb went off in my mind to reach out to the school principal where my children go to school. and see if she would like me to volunteer for armed security for the school. Now, it is a private Christian school, so they're not bound by a lot of the same laws and restrictions as a public school. And I remember during that drive just having this kind of battle of like, she's going to think I'm crazy. No, I shouldn't do it. She's going to,
Right.
maybe I could help. So finally, I just picked up the phone and called her and I said, this is going to come across really strange, but I feel really moved to reach out to you and offer, I have all the equipment needed, my time to just stand post outside of the school, maybe bring some peace to the children and the staff. And she, I wasn't even done with the sentence, and she's like, "Yes, please."
Wow.
And
Really?
absolutely. It was like really something the way she was like, "Absolutely, yes, please." And I said, "Well, when would you like me to start?" She goes, "Tomorrow morning."
Yeah,
So
that is shocking, frankly. I mean, I know it's a
yeah,
private school. Our kids all went to public school, so they probably would have hung up on you. I don't know about maybe it's different in Tennessee. But real quick, was this right in the immediate aftermath of this other shooting that you had
yes,
this
sir. It
conversation?
was it was a day or two after it.
Okay.
Yep.
So right away she's like, absolutely yes, please. That's surprising in a very good way. Kind of walk us through what happened after that.
Well, the conversation, once she obviously told me that she was interested in this, she said, "Are you just going to have your concealed carry on you and be, inside the school? What does it kind of look like?" And because I had already given this quite a bit of thought, I said, "Actually, I think it needs to be a little over the top." I said, "I don't think there's any concealing. I think this needs to be an intimidation factor and something that people will talk about because we obviously want to get the word out that there's an armed person, patrolling the school." And I felt like if I just had, a SIG in my, appendix carry or something, it wouldn't have that same impact, um, to really help get the word out that this is a school that no one's going to want to mess with. And she bought into that as well. She was like, "I think that's a great idea. I'll see you in the morning." Um,
Wow.
and so the next morning, I showed up. I was a little nervous. Are parents going to embrace this? What's going to happen? She had sent a message out to parents the night before, letting them know, but I really didn't know what I was gonna face. So the next morning, I'm over at my vehicle and I'm starting to get all my equipment together and everything. And she came over and she said, "I want to tell you something crazy." And I said, "What's that?" And so she started to tear up. She said, "Yesterday afternoon, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation called our school and said that they were putting all the Christian schools in the state on this heightened alert status, and that they needed to be, more diligent, more careful, and have some security." And she told TBI, she said, "I have a very small budget. I don't have any money for security." And he said, "Well, unfortunately, we can't give you that, but we just have to tell you to be prepared." She said, "Scott, 5 minutes later, you called me." And, you know, as a person of faith, I felt that, there's really no clearer sign that I was doing what, was being asked of me in that time. And that really helped me, sustain the mission throughout the year.
Yeah, sometimes when people, question my faith or ask me about my faith in Jesus and like, what does that mean? And how do you know? And, isn't it just an imaginary guy with a gray beard in the sky or whatever? Stuff like this, I've seen time and time and time again. If you're not a Jesus follower and you don't want to hear about Jesus, just fast forward about a minute and you won't have to listen to this. But for the rest of you, how many times have I been in the middle of something and remembered, oh, I know the middle of this problem. I know I forgot to ask God for help. I forgot to ask Jesus, what should I do right now? And it never fails. It's never failed once. He answers prayer in three ways, right? Yes, no, and wait.
Right.
Um, and but it's not always immediately that you get to hear the answer to prayer. You get that sort of affirmation. Sometimes you're kind of wandering around in the wilderness for a while, wondering, am I doing the right thing?
Yep.
Is this a sign from God or not? So for that to occur, not only are you listening to that still small voice, but also he's also kind of beating you over the head with a 2x4. Like he wants you to know, yes, this is what I want you to do. And the fun part of that for me is, who knows, God willing, and probably you'll never have to jump into action. You'll never have to stop a school shooter, but who knows what other relationships and what effect you'll have on
Right.
people's lives or them on you because you're there. Who knows? But
Yes.
that's really exciting. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that part.
Yeah, and I love it too, Mike, that John and you as well always focus on spiritual fitness. I absolutely love um, when you guys take advantage of the show to emphasize that. We all think about protection in terms of level 4 plates and being armed all the time, but that spiritual fitness, man, that's oftentimes the absolute most important.
Yeah, the emotional and spiritual fitness aspect. I'm not saying no one else talks about it in the Second Amendment self defense world. I'm sure they do, but I don't hear a lot of it. And when it comes down to some of the badge cams that we do on the main channel, and some of the analyses that John does on the main channel, and everything that we do, we see people all the time. Unfortunately, now that I'm doing this job, I saw a lot of bad stuff in my
Mm.
career as a law enforcement officer, but now almost every day I'm looking at a video of something terrible happening. I like to say that if you sign up for a job in law enforcement or fire EMS, every day of your career you're dealing with someone else's worst day of their life.
Yep.
So seeing these videos constantly, um, it's just a reminder that you don't want your last thought to be, I should have, maybe I should have done my Bible study. Maybe I shouldn't have been so terse with my wife or my kids or whatever. To have those things taken care of, to know that you're going to meet Jesus when you die, is a part of the self defense mindset that just doesn't get talked about enough. So thank you for even mentioning that. You mentioned so you didn't want to do concealment. So you and I may differ on this, and that's fine. Listen, we don't have to agree on everything. Uh, so you're open carrying at the school. Is that what I understand?
It's more than open carrying, to be honest with you, Mike. Like I said, I wanted it to be a pretty high intimidation factor. I also wanted the staff and students to know that if a threat were to arise, that I was more than equipped to handle and address it.